Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving headfirst into the fascinating and completely misunderstood world of one of nature's most elite predators. It's a creature of just immense beauty, incredible intelligence, and honestly, shocking athleticism. Yet it has spent decades fighting a public relations battle that's just as fierce as its fight for survival out on the savanna. So, we're going to break down the science, the behavior, and the highly calculated conservation efforts surrounding the African painted wolf. Let's get into it. To start us off, I want you to just pause and ask yourself a quick question. What is Africa's absolute most successful predator? Now, your mind might immediately jump to the mighty lion reigning over the plains, right? Or maybe the lightning-fast cheetah, capable of those unbelievable bursts of speed. But the real answer? Well, it's probably going to shock you. Just look at the sheer contrast here. On the left, we've got lions. They're primarily ambush hunters, relying on stealth and explosive power, but they actually have a surprisingly low success rate. Then, on the right, we have the African wild dog. Because they are true endurance runners, they achieve an astonishing 85% hunting success rate. I mean, that leaves the king of the jungle literally in the dust. Out of all the large carnivores, they are arguably the absolute most efficient hunters alive. If they target a prey, it rarely escapes. All right, Section 1, painted wolves, not wild dogs. To truly understand this animal, we really need to strip away the myths first. Look, people constantly mistake them for feral domestic dogs, or they just lump them in with hyenas. But they are entirely different beasts. Hyenas, like the one on the right, are actually way more cat-like in their biology and grooming, and they're known for their scavenging and bone-crushing jaws. But on the left, that's our subject right there, Lycaon pictus. They are an entirely distinct genus, only very distantly related to our domestic dogs and wolves. They've got their own super unique adaptations, like having only 4 toes per foot, these massive rounded ears for temperature regulation, and a totally unique patchy coat. Seriously, no two dogs have the exact same markings. It's like a giant puzzle. And this perfectly illustrates why conservationists are pushing so hard to rebrand them. Their scientific name, Lycaon pictus, translates roughly to a painted wolf-like creature. While an ecologist named Brian E. Blades did a fascinating word association study to see exactly how the public reacts to different names. And guess what? She found that words like hunting or wild trigger massive negative reactions. People automatically associate wild with dangerous or scary. But the words painted and dog, those trigger highly positive responses. Her survey proved that just ditching the word wild completely changes human perception from fear to awe. And when it comes to conservation, public perception is absolutely everything. Moving on to Section 2, nature's elite endurance hunters. So how exactly does this beautifully painted predator actually earn that crazy 85% success rate out on the savanna? Well, 35. That's the number of miles per hour they can maintain during a sprint. But here is the kicker. It's not just a quick burst. They are totally built for stamina, capable of maintaining that 35-mile-per-hour pace for incredibly long distances. Unlike cheetahs that just sprint for a few seconds and tap out, painted wolves will literally pursue their quarry until the prey just tires out and completely gives up. The crucial takeaway here is that their success isn't about brute strength at all. It's a perfectly engineered 4-step system of incredible teamwork. First up, endurance chasing. They induce absolute exhaustion in their prey. Second, cooperative hunting. The packs, which are usually led by a monogamous dominant alpha male and female, work in extremely strict coordination to corner their target. Third, minimal energy expenditure. They use only the energy necessary to secure kill and smartly avoid risky, prolonged confrontations with larger animals. And fourth, effective communication. They don't howl like traditional wolves during a hunt. Instead, they use these high-pitched squeals, yips, and this really distinct bell-like hoo call that carries across the plains to keep the whole pack perfectly aligned. It's amazing. Section 3, the threat of fragmentation. But despite their elite skills and flawless teamwork, this species has actually been on the endangered list for over 20 years. They're facing a very modern, very serious crisis. And the reality of their numbers is just stark. There are only about 6,600 adults left across the entirety of Africa. But terrifyingly, only around 1,400 of those are mature breeding individuals, spread across fewer than 700 packs globally. You see, in painted wolf society, usually only the alpha pair breeds. So that means the actual population of animals passing on their genetics is dangerously small. And the core issue driving this massive decline is fragmentation. Wild dogs require absolutely massive territories. On average, we're talking about 234 square miles per pack. But as human settlements, agriculture, and roads expand, these huge territories are just being sliced up. It creates these tiny, isolated habitat pockets. So when young dogs naturally try to leave their pack to form new ones, they really struggle to cross these human-dominated landscapes. Ultimately, this leads to localized extinctions, and as we'll see in a second, it makes these small, isolated groups highly vulnerable to catastrophic events. Which brings us to Section 4, the invisible enemy, disease. The absolute most devastating threat lurking within those fragmented habitats isn't lions and it isn't a lack of prey, it's this. What you're looking at here are severe, cell-destroying lung lesions caused by the canine distemper virus, or CDV. It is a highly contagious pathogen that viciously targets the respiratory, nervous, and gastrointestinal systems. And because wild dogs live in such incredibly close-knit packs, they literally sleep in big piles and are constantly socializing, if just one dog catches it, which often spills over from unvaccinated domestic dogs in nearby villages, the entire pack is exposed almost immediately. To truly wrap your head around just how fast and lethal this virus is, consider this number, 49. During a single outbreak in a captive breeding program over at the Mkomasi Game Reserve in Tanzania, between late 2000 and early 2001, 49 out of 52 dogs died, and that all happened in just 2 months. It is an absolute wipeout for a small, isolated subpopulation. Section 5, Engineering a Wild Comeback. While the situation is undoubtedly dire, conservation science absolutely refuses to give up. South Africa is actually pioneering a strategy of cautious stability, using a brilliant 3-tiered approach. First, they rely on Kruger National Park as a largely unmanaged, natural stronghold. Second, and this is the most innovative part, they manage what's called metapopulations. Because so many reserves are fenced and isolated, conservationists will literally physically transport dogs between different reserves to mimic natural dispersal and ensure genetic diversity. It's wild. Third, they monitor free-roaming packs outside protected areas. And alongside all this, they use active interventions, like carefully executed vaccination programs. And within those active interventions, the entire strategy is highly targeted around one golden rule of wild dog conservation. Protecting the alpha female secures the future of the entire pack. Because she's typically the sole breeding female, her health directly dictates pup survival, hunting efficiency, and long-term pack continuity. By focusing intensive veterinary interventions and disease prevention squarely on her, conservation teams effectively build a protective shield around the entire local population. It's a real game changer. So this brings us to a final thought I want to leave you with. The painted wolf, or African wild dog, has the stamina to outrun almost anything on the savanna. They are a true masterclass in teamwork, endurance, and survival. But right now, they are running a desperate race against habitat loss and disease, leaving us to wonder, are we, as a global community, willing to go the distance and put in the sustained conservation effort to ensure they never stop running? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this completely changed how you view this incredible animal.